It's happening, gang. It's really, really happening. This election is running away from Kamala, and the legacy media is admitting it. The legacy media itself is showing signs of cracking, all as the Kamala campaign appears to be absolutely unraveling from within. I'm going to show you everything that's happening 11 days out from the election and why we truly are on the cusp of what may indeed be one of the most epic blowouts ever.
Hey, gang, with everything going on right now, it's hard to say what could happen or what will happen. And to make matters even worse, we usually don't find out until it's too late. But when it comes to your money, you should understand what's at stake. That's why I partnered with Goldco. Now, you guys know I'm a big fan of hedging future risks with the timeless value of gold and silver. And that's why you've got to click on the link below or go to turleytalkslikesgold.com to get your free gold and silver kit. Gang, it's an amazing free resource that shows you step-by-step how to get into precious metals tax-free and penalty-free, even if your money's still in a retirement account like an IRA or a 401k. And the best part is that you may already qualify to get up to $10,000 in free silver. You've seen the writing on the wall. Click on that link below or go to turleytalkslikesgold.com to get your free gold and silver kit right now, because this is about taking back control of your freedom and your privacy. We can't predict the future, but we can certainly prepare for it. So don't wait. Take action now to defend your freedom, your privacy, and your future. Click on that link below right now.
We are officially now just 11 days from the big day. And I want to begin with a brief cautionary note. If we learned anything from 2020, it's that literally anything can happen. We all live under a rotten and corrupt regime made up of both political parties that exist for one reason and one reason only: to maintain and expand their own power and affluence at our expense. This regime, this globalist regime, we now know will stop at nothing to protect and defend its own interests and to fortify its international dominance and control. We saw it on display in November 2020. We saw this regime and what it's willing to do on display again on January 6th and thereafter. We saw it in the unprecedented raid of a former president's home. We saw it in four indictments that charged a former president with dozens of felonies. We saw it in what was supposed to be the humiliation of a mugshot taken of him by a corrupt legal system in Fulton County, Georgia, to their everlasting shame. We saw it in the absurdly vile, venomous, vengeful convictions by a rabidly left-wing, frothing at the mouth Manhattan jury. And on July 13th, in Butler, Pennsylvania, we even saw it in what would have been its most sinister, history-altering form. The challenges before us are great. As King George VI said in his immortal King's Speech, We have been called to meet the challenge of a principle which, if it were to prevail, would be fatal to any civilized order in the world. We have been called to meet the challenge of a principle, if it were to prevail, would be fatal to any civilized order in the world. But then he said, and it is unthinkable that we should refuse to meet such a challenge. And so I want to caution all of us today, 11 days out. I want to caution all of us, this is not yet over. Anything can happen in these next 11 days. But the fact that anything can happen does not translate into it will happen. And here's the key. It does not translate into it will happen the way they planned. The raid on Trump's home at Mar-a-Lago did not happen as they planned. The indictments did not happen as they planned. The mugshot did not happen as they planned. The New York convictions did not happen as they planned. And J13, by the grace of Almighty God, did not happen as they planned. My dear friends, it's up to us, every single one of us, to do everything we absolutely can to make sure that no matter what they have planned for November 5th, it does not happen as they planned. And the glorious news is that that is exactly what appears to be happening. As we speak, this election is running away from them. That's exactly what our good friend Rich Barris over at the People's Pundit is saying. God bless Rich, gang. He's been so amazing. His analysis has been so spot on all throughout the past year. I mean, it's always spot on, but particularly this year leading up to November. So, I mean, Rich has been such an invaluable resource to this channel. I know he has been as well to everyone out there. If you're not subscribed to Rich's channel or his Twitter feed, you got to go do that. Do that now as you're listening to this. But Rich said it beautifully today. Just this tweet just went up. Everything could be wrong. Yeah, it's true. Everything could be wrong. All the data we have coming in could all be wrong. The vast majority of the polls may be off. The voter registration trends may indeed be inconsequential. The early voting may indeed be anomaly. Yep, everything we're seeing thus far could be wrong. But if not, it looks like she's about to get crushed. If not, this is running away from Harris. If all the data out there right now is not wrong, then this is most definitely not happening as they planned. Mark Halperin, formerly of MSNBC, is saying the quiet part out loud. He was talking with Megyn Kelly yesterday, talking about Joe Biden's trip to New Hampshire. Take a look at what he had to say.
Harris, a few weeks ago, did an event in New Hampshire. I said to everybody in both parties, like, what's going on? Because she's spending a day campaigning in New Hampshire. They said, oh, no, she's got a fundraiser in Boston. She's given a national speech. It's got nothing to do with being worried about New Hampshire. And in fact, the private data in New Hampshire shows her with a pretty substantial lead. Joe Biden back in New Hampshire yesterday. And so there's a school of thought. I'm not predicting Trump will win a landslide. I'm not rooting for Trump winning a landslide. But there's a school of thought that says Trump's going to go to Albuquerque to try to win New Mexico. He's going to go to St. Paul to try to win Minnesota. He's going to go to, I don't know, Richmond to try to win Virginia. And then he's going to go to New Hampshire. And I was told yesterday, someone showed me an email saying that the Trump campaign is doing last minute hiring, paying a pretty robust sum for folks to do door knocking at the last minute.
This is the reason the Democrats are campaigning in New Hampshire. Take a look at this. This is the latest Emerson poll to drop, just dropped yesterday, the 24th. Polling October 21st, 23rd. Emerson tends to skew left like they all do. And it's basically within the margin of error. New Hampshire, which hasn't voted for a Republican in decades, is in the margin of error. And of course, it's not just New Hampshire. It's Virginia. I'm sure you've all been following the early voting in Virginia. Republicans are crushing it. They're now in a better position than they were back in 2021 when Glenn Youngkin went on to win the state. Now, again, another cautionary note. Gubernatorial elections are not predictive of presidential elections. That's essential to understand. Gubernatorial elections are not predictive of presidential elections. Just ask Ron DeSantis. just ask Chris Christie if you can get a word with him in between bites. Just ask Mitt Romney. Now, that said, it is true that Virginia is closer than anything any Democrat establishment member would have ever imagined in their worst nightmares. This is not going according to plan. And we could go on and on. Trump is seeing red everywhere. He's seeing record support in Jersey, seeing record support in New York. Kamala's margins are half of what Biden was getting at the time in 2020, particularly in New York. Speaking of New York, this came out today. Throw this out. How do you like that cover? That's from the New York Post. They have officially endorsed Trump. Murdoch's New York Post has just endorsed Trump. And I love the cover. Back to the Future. They said the clear choice, the only viable option to put the nation back on the right path is, of course, the one and only Donald J. Trump. So fire up the old DeLorean. We're going back to the future as far as New York Post is concerned. That must have hurt, that headline, at least at the executive level, the Rupert Murdoch level. The Murdoch family hates Trump. They absolutely despise Trump. Half of them are all left-wing nuts anyway, but they know who their readers are, they're overwhelmingly pro-Trump, and they're seeing the collapse of Kamala. Seems rather obvious. So for the very survival of the paper, they had no choice. They had to endorse Trump. Now, this endorsement comes on the heels of the very opposite. The announcement that the LA Times, which has endorsed every Democrat presidential candidate in the last few decades, they've come out and refused to endorse Kamala. They'll say, of course, well, we're not going to endorse anyone. No, think about it. Let that hit you. Why would you not endorse anyone? Just like the Teamsters Union. Why would you not endorse anyone? What makes this election so sui generis, so unique, that you're going to buck precedent and not endorse anyone? The subtle message is we're not endorsing the Democrat nominee because she's a disaster. So the LA Times is joining up with the Teamsters Union and refusing to do the expected ritual of every single presidential election season, and that's for establishment outlets to endorse establishment candidates. And they're not. And they're not alone. The Washington Post, Jeff Bezos' propaganda rag, they're refusing to endorse Kamala. There's reportedly a bit of a civil war going on inside the far-left outlet Washington Post, with the staff in the newsrooms demanding that the paper endorse Cackle's Kamala because they're made up of the most miserable people on the planet. But the executives there following Bezos appear to want to hedge their bets, given that they think Trump is going to win and they don't want to be on his bad side when he does.